Okay, and welcome to today's posting. Today we're going to look at hip flexor stretches, brought to you by posture-exercises.blogspot.com. So the hip flexors are a group of muscles that cross the front of the hip. They include the psoas major, the psoas minor, the iliacus, tensor fascia lateral, and the rectus femoris. And the reason these muscles are so important and why they can cause problems if they become tight is that their origin starts either in the lumbar spine, which is the lower back, or the pelvis. So if they become tight, not only can they affect how the hip joint moves, but they can affect the lower back as well as the tilt and the rotation of the pelvis. So it's very important these muscles are at their correct length. So we're going to look at three methods for stretching these today. Method number one is a very gentle stretches for someone who has very tight hip flexors. So it might be a place to start if you're having trouble with these hip flexors. But for a lot of people, this stretch is going to be too easy. But it's a good place to start. So the way it's performed is you lie on your back, because those muscles do start off in the lower back. We don't want to cause any troubles to the lower back, so we draw the belly button into the spine to stabilize the lower back, and then we pull one knee up to the chest, keeping the other leg flat on the ground. Don't let that lift up. Now we're actually looking for the stretch at the front of the leg that stays on the ground. So that's key to keep that leg down there and not letting that pelvis rotate either. So let's have a look at that one. Okay, method number two is a little bit stronger of a stretch, performed in a kneeling position in a lunge, meaning that you're on the knee of one leg, and of the other leg the foot is out in front of you. Tilt the front of the pelvis up towards the head. It's like you're tucking in the backside. That's going to help get maximum stretch on those muscles. And then you lunge forward. You should feel a stretch at the front of the hip and the thigh, and I recommend holding this one for 10 to 20 seconds. So let's have a look at that one. Okay, and method number three, primarily stretching the rectus femoris muscle. The rectus femoris muscle is one of your main thigh muscles. This muscle actually crosses both the hip and the knee. So to get a maximum stretch on it, we need to stretch it at both those joints. So for this one, I recommend putting the foot on a kitchen counter, or it can be a table or bed, a couch, anything with that's appropriate height for your height. Once again, we tilt the front of the pelvis up towards the head, so that's like we're tucking in the backside. Now make sure you keep the knee directly below the hip, both from looking from the side and both looking from the front. Unfortunately, you'll see in this video that the kitchen counter is probably a little bit too tight for too high for this person, or their rectus femoris was a little bit too tight, and they're not quite getting their knee in the ideal position. So adjust the height of what you're using to make sure you get that knee directly underneath the hip, and you should feel a stretch at the front of your thigh, and once again hold 10 to 20 seconds. So let's have a look at that one. And there we go. Some information about how to stretch your hip flexors. For more posture tips and posture exercise information, make sure you visit us at posture-exercises.blogspot.com.